Okay, hello everyone. This is Mapletree Pan Asia Commercial Trust second quarter and first half FY 24-25 financial results dated 24th October 2024. Right, generally the results are not good. Right, DPU has fallen below 2 cents. Right, so it's 1.98 cents. Right, NAV has dropped as well to $1.71. Right, the last quarter's NAV, just let me check. Is $1.76. So it's not a good thing Right, I think this one is partly because of the Japanese property revaluation, right, and possibly also the divestment of Mapletree Anson. Right, aggregate leverage is the one good point so far. Right, it has dropped below 40%, although this is without its perpetual securities. Right, AUM nothing much to say. Occupancy is 90.3%. That's not very good. Right, you can see it's dropped from the last quarter. Right, this first quarter at 94%. Right, so occupancy is falling. Right. We look at the second quarter versus second quarter performance last financial year. Right, they sold Mapletree Anson. Right, VivoCity is the only good performer. Right, so despite the fact that there's AI at basement 2 and the fact that nothing is going on, right, the revenue is still higher. Right, so VivoCity is the only bright spot. Right, overseas contribution doing badly. Right, actually they say that the SGD has strengthened against both JPY and RMB, but generally all their overseas assets are doing badly. Right, improved financial costs. All right, because of Mapletree Anson, they divested. Right, so they have less debt now to service. Right, first half versus first half is more or less a mimic of the second quarter versus second quarter, so I won't really go through this one. Alright, capital management, strengthened balance sheet, we are aware of this. Alright, the leverage ratio has gone below 40%, does not include perpetual securities. If we do include perpetual securities, I think it's still slightly above 40%, but it's better than before when they stay at Mapletree Anson, right? With perpetual securities, something like 42.2%. Right, so now I think they shrunk it to just slightly above 40% with perpetual securities. Of course, if you don't count perpetual securities, then you can say it's 38.4%. Right, so anyway, this one nothing much to say Fixed rate debt above 70%. Alright, okay, nothing much to say about this. Singapore is good. Alright, these three Japanese properties are an issue because of the I think the main tenant is leaving in March 2026, so they have to think about what to do with these three properties, right? And I think they revalued these properties. That's the part of the reason why the NAV dropped, right? Then they are positioning for China's eventual upturn, right, which hopefully will come. Right, VivoCity is the only strong point of this REIT left, right? Even MBC, I think the revenue dropped. Right, so they say that hopefully by the time the AEI is done, there will be further improvements, right, and it should be done. The food kiosk should be progressively open from October 2024. So I think by the next quarter result, there should be some contribution from this basement to enhancement. Right, Festival Walk rebound from first quarter, but frankly first quarter performed very badly so probably not difficult to rebound from first quarter, right? But if you compare second quarter versus last year's second quarter, the drop is still quite significant, as you will see later. Right, we look at the gross revenue. Right, it's down by $15 million. Right, 6.1%. Right, and there are three reasons why. Number one is because of the loss of Mapletree Anson, clearly. Right, but this is expected Right, I went to track how much Mapletree Anson actually contributed to the revenue. Right, here according to this line is that last year second quarter they contributed $6.3 million, right, which means that of this $15 million, $6.3 million is expected drop because you won't have Mapletree Anson, right? So the remainder $9.7 million or is it $8.7 million? Yeah, it's $8.7 million comes from these two reasons, right? Lower overseas contributions, right, and stronger SGD against JPY and RMB, right? Of which I think maybe number three, hard to blame management Okay, but yeah, it is what it is. Alright, the performance is not good. Alright, what I wanted to say was that I think Mapletree Anson isn't such a big deal, because if you think about the $6.3 million missing from this top line, right, you also need to realize that actually some of the $6.3 million that revenue you get from Mapletree Anson, right, you must minus the operating expense and also the interest costs, the financial costs right? So although you lose $6.3 million here, right, you also save some in operating expense and save some in financial costs, right? So it won't be a $6.3 million drop to the amount distributable to unit holders. That's what I'm trying to say, right? right? So I don't think Mapletree Anson is the cause of the whole bad result, right? The other things also matter. Right, anyway, operating expense is the one slight positive, right? Because although in reality here they say up by 1.7%, but you must remember that in second quarter FY 23-24, right, actually they had a boost of $2.8 million. That is one off. That means to say that their actual operating expense second quarter FY 23-24 is something like $59 million, right, or $59.8 million. And if you compare with this current quarter, right, is there some savings, right? So property expense dropping is one good positive aspect, right? The other positive aspect is your financial cost drop, but this one is sort of expected because of Mapletree Anson's divestments reducing borrowing. Okay, yeah, so amount distributable to unit holders is quite bad. It's down 11.9%, right? Not going to lie, this is a bad result, all right. And distribution down to the unit holders is down 11.6%, right? Again, a bad result, right? Why is this generally bad, right? It's because the gross revenue, right, is really going south from the last few reports, right? This second quarter, this is the most recent report. If we look at last quarter, it was flattish, right? Gross revenue the change was flattish, and the previous quarter it was actually up. So it went from slightly up to flat to negative. Right, so in the past the top line tried to mitigate the drop in the DPU, but now the top line is not helping anymore, right? So yeah, again, this is not a very good result, right? Anyway, so let's move on. You can see all the overseas properties are doing badly, right? So you can see that all overseas properties are doing badly. Last time Singapore used to save the day, now MBC also dropped. So nothing much going well for the REIT at this point, right? Let's move on, right? The first half versus first half is more or less the repeat of the second quarter versus second quarter. There's not much difference here, right? So I won't really cover this, right? I think the story is fairly similar. Balance sheet generally this is a slight positive, right? So you can see they save $8 million worth of debt, right? So the debt dropped by $8 million. That's a good thing, right? So leverage ratio is down to 38.4%, not including perpetual securities, right? However, interest coverage ratio is still 2.8 times, right? So this is not a positive thing I was hoping that this should have dropped, right? This should have increased, right, to become better, all right? But the good thing is that this is adjusted, so it includes covering perpetual securities, right? Weighted average cost of debt more or less flattish. This is a good thing again, right? Barely increased, right? We did mention that this is likely to be a case in the last presentation. Okay, the rest not too much to say about this. Right, so we'll just look at DPU. We are disappointing. Drop of 11+% is quite bad. Right, so anyway, VivoCity, tenant sales and shopper traffic are both down, right? But this partly because of the basement effect, the basement 2 AEI effect, right? Festival Walk is down 13.2%, but sort of expected. If you look at the first quarter sales, right, is sort of the same, 14%. Yeah, down 14%, right? So not altogether unexpected, but I just don't like Festival Walk. Nothing much to say about it. Okay, occupancy, Japan is starting to show issues, right? You can see that from June until now it has dropped quite significantly, right? And China also slightly dropping, right? Festival Walk actually also dropped, right? Yeah, nothing is doing well. Korea also dropped, right? Everything overseas is dropped. MBC slight drop. Yeah, we look at the rental revisions, right? This is from the last quarter. So Festival Walk -5% to -6.1%. I was hopeful that this one will approach zero, but it's not, right? China properties -1.3% last quarter to -2.9% this quarter. Japan last quarter was -12.7%. Now it's -9.5%. Right, Korea is very bad, -27.3%, but Korea is very small, 1 or 2% of the portfolio. So I guess you can not worry too much about Korea. Right, not going to discuss the rest too much, I believe. Yeah, I think we sort of discussed the rest. Not going to be able to defend the REIT that much, right? Generally is worse than expected results. I think what I was expecting was something like last quarter's result lah, that DPU will fall by around 4%, yeah, but it has dropped more than twice, more than 2 times, all right, and NAV has dropped as well, right? So hard to find positives in this set of results. Okay, so with that, that's all I have for today. Thank you for listening. Remember that none of this is financial advice, and please do your own due diligence before you do anything. Right? Thank you for listening.